What's up, YouTubers? This may be a two-part video. Hopefully it don't go into 3 parts. But I'm going to be talking a lot about black atheism and black atheists, where they're at and what's not, coming up in February as kind of a tribute to Black History Month. But since tomorrow is Dr. King's birthday, I decided that I would go ahead and give you guys a taste of that. So, what I want to talk about is black people and how Christianity affects them. Specifically, I'm talking about black Americans. In order to really talk about how Christianity affects them, I'm going to have to really go all the way back to slavery time. Now, I don't want to offend anyone, but I know that that may very well happen when I do this video. There are going to be some things that black people or people in general is not going to agree with and going to probably get pretty pissed off about. But at the same time, that's not going to hold me back from saying what I want to say. So if you don't like it, you might not want to watch this. But going back to the slavery times, black people already had their various religions in Africa. Majority of the slaves being captured from West Africa, black people already had their religions from Africa. They came over here, and naturally they were not allowed to practice these religions because they were coming over to a nation that were majority Christian. Why would a Christian let you practice some other form of belief, some other form of religion, when they believed that anything other than Christianity made you a heathen? So they're not going to have heathen slaves running around. They felt that it was their Christian duty to convert their slaves to Christianity, and that is exactly what they did. But the problem is, in doing this, that was a huge controversy, and this plays into how Baptists, how you got the Baptists and the Southern Baptists. It plays into how that was actually created, and a lot of people don't even realize that. But that's for a subject I'm going to talk about later on in February. But basically what's going on is that when they decided to teach Christianity to the slaves, the form of Christianity that slaves were taught was that God agreed with slavery, wanted them to be slaves, and if they did their Christian duty, if they were good slaves and good Christians, they would be awarded in the afterlife. This is an important mentality, because they're told that at that point they're being taught that no matter what kind of hardship you go through, no matter how tough, no matter how bad, no matter how hard things are, if you do your Christian duty, if you believe in the Lord, if you go to church, if you are obedient, if you're a good citizen, a model citizen, then you are going to be rewarded in the hereafter. So that's already a horrible mentality, because basically what you are teaching them is that don't really focus on making things better here on earth, because you're going to get something better when you die. That's already a bad mentality, because this is the only life you get and you ruin it. The next problem, though, is that they're also basically, they were in a hopeless situation. They couldn't practice their religion. They couldn't get back home. So now what should they do? And so they have Christianity that teaches them about how the Israelites were slaves and they were freed from Egypt. So if God can free them, surely God can free us. So they're putting all their hopes and all their trust now in this God, because everything else for them has failed. It has been taken away from them. They have been forbidden to learn to read the Bible on their own. And so everything they know of the Bible has been told to them from the white people, from their masters, from their overseers. And so, and this is what they pass on to their children, and so on, and so on, and so on. This plays a dramatic effect on them, because you have to understand that once slavery ended, they still did not know how to read. And so they were still passing on this knowledge. Not a lot of black people learned how to read when slavery ended, because it cost them money to go to school, money that they didn't have. White people still did not want them to go to school, so there were still major obstacles there. So the schools that they had were underfunded. There was no money, very little to no books. So what do, essentially? And so you have to understand that the reading would not have been great when they did learn to read a little bit. And there have been a lot of questions. Anybody who read the Bible know a lot of questions start coming up. Things just don't make sense. How would they have interpreted this? How would they have understood this? Through the pastors from the plantation times. You see, yes, there were pastors on the plantation. Some of the slaves will come up and become pastors. Why is this so? Because the white people, the masters and the overseers, needed someone to preach the form of Christianity to them, to basically keep them in chains. And so that's where the slave preachers came into play. So once slavery was in it, it was these type of preachers that they had to turn to interpret things in the Bible that could not be interpreted. So basically, even though black people did begin to learn how to read and read the Bible on their own, they were told never to question and challenge God. And now these preachers, these slave preachers, are interpreting the Bible. And so what winds up happening is a whole mess, essentially. What winds up happening is that you have to understand that basically these preachers would tell the congregation that they cannot question God, obviously, and they are the authority figures of God. And a lot of people might not agree with that, but it's true, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. So that being said, the slave preachers are giving you interpretations of the Bible on the portions that they cannot understand, which is the whole Bible, essentially, and they are basically interpreting the whole Bible from the interpretations that they were taught from the white masters. So you're starting to see the problems here with learning this style of Christianity. Now, the next point is the authority figure of the Bible, the authority figure of God, the authority figure of Jesus, like it or not, is not Jesus. It's not God. It is, in fact, the religious authority figures you see. People such as deacons, and who control the deacons, the pastors, the preachers, the ministers. These are the people, these are your authority figures. These are the people who really control your interpretation of the Bible and your interpretation of God. This is where the black people, early black people, post-slaves, would have went through, and they would have still been learning the slave mentality of Christianity. And that continues even up till today. It still goes on. They still are learning the slave mentality of Christianity. Now, that being said, I want to go ahead and move on to my next point.